Hi, everyone. In my previous life, during the high-pressure years I spent in the insurance and finance markets, 3 a.m. was a curse. I used to wake up with a heavy chest, my mind racing through spreadsheets, liabilities, and the leaden stress of a career that was draining my soul. I called it insomnia. I treated it as a biological failure, a glitch that needed to be fixed with caffeine or sheer willpower. I didn't realize that the system wanted me to fear those hours because that is exactly when the matrix loses its grip on our subconscious. What I once perceived as a disorder was actually the opening of the Theta doorway, a specific quantum window where your DNA antenna is most receptive to the instructions of your future self. When I stopped fighting my 3 a.m. awakenings and started treating them as a sovereign laboratory, my entire reality shifted. I stopped being a victim of sleeplessness and became a strategist of the apertures of time. This is the moment when your brainwaves naturally drop into the theta frequency, moving away from the analytical anxiety of the day and into a state of pure quantum potential. This is not a malfunction, it is a quantum calling. It is the bridge between you and your double, as described by Jean-Pierre Garnier-Millet. It is the time when the information for your next big investment or your transition to freedom is actually being delivered. In this video, we are going to rebrand your insomnia. I am going to show you how I used these early hours to hack my way out of the corporate grind and into a life of absolute sovereignty. If you've been waking up at 3 a.m. and feeling the weight of the world, leave a comment with the word sovereign. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to join our circle of experts. And remember, the links to the books and free materials to help you master this frequency are in the description. Your insomnia isn't a problem to be solved, it's a portal to be entered. Let's decode it. The biology of the 3 a.m. glitch. To truly understand why you are waking up at 3 a.m., we have to look past the medical labels and into the actual biochemical architecture of your sovereignty. When I was deeply embedded in the corporate world, managing insurance risks and financial portfolios, I lived by a very rigid, linear clock. I was taught that the body was a machine that needed 8 hours of maintenance to be productive for the system the next day. So when I started waking up at 3 a.m. with my mind racing and my heart pounding, I felt like a broken machine. I saw it as a glitch in my productivity. I thought my insomnia was a sign that I was losing my edge in the competitive market. But what I was actually experiencing was my DNA antenna trying to tune out of the leaden broadcast of the matrix and into the golden frequency of the field. Biologically, what happens at 3 a.m. is a massive shift in your internal chemistry. This is the window where your cortisol levels are at their absolute lowest point of the 24-hour cycle, and your melatonin production is at its peak, beginning to synthesize into a very specific neurochemical compound called piniline. In the world of high-performance finance, we are taught to fear low cortisol because we associate it with crashing. But in the quantum laboratory, low cortisol is a blessing. It means the fight or flight response of the 3D world is temporarily offline. The analytical guard dog of your brain, the beta wave state, is finally asleep. This creates a state of hyper-suggestibility. This is the opening of the theta doorway. When you wake up at this hour, you aren't just awake, you're hovering in a transition zone between worlds. Your brain waves are naturally pulsing between 4 and 8 cycles per second. This is the theta frequency. In this state, the barrier between your conscious intent and your subconscious hard drive is paper thin. In the corporate world, they want you to spend this time worrying about your boss, your debts, or your how. They want you to fill this sacred theta window with leaden static. Why? Because if you fill this window with fear, you are effectively recoding your scarcity for the next day. You are using your most powerful creative window to reinforce your own prison. I spent years doing exactly that. I would wake up at 3 a.m. and start mentally rehearsing my meetings, my liabilities, and my failures. I was literally using the Theta doorway to tell my DNA, keep me in the grind, keep me in the struggle. It wasn't until I began to study the mechanics of the quantum double and the biology of the brain that I realized I was sitting on a gold mine. The 3 a.m. glitch is actually the moment when your biological system is most receptive to new instructions. It is the moment when the double, described by Jean-Pierre Garnier-Mallet, has the easiest access to your physical antenna. Because the world is quiet and the collective noise of the matrix is at its minimum, your individual broadcast becomes incredibly clear. Think of your brain like a high-end trading terminal. During the day, beta state, the screen is flooded with thousands of flickering lights, news alerts, and distractions. It's almost impossible to place a clean trade or set a clear intention. But at 3 a.m., theta state, the terminal is clear. There is no noise, there is only the golden signal of the field. This is when the real sovereign strategist does her work. I stopped trying to fix my insomnia and started using it to hack my career. I realized that if I could hold a specific end result in my mind for just a few minutes during this theta window, the collapse of the wave was a mathematical certainty. Your DNA, as we discussed in our previous sessions, is a crystalline oscillator. It follows the geometry of the Fibonacci spiral. At 3 a.m., when your pineal gland is secreting these specific neurotransmitters, your DNA becomes more conductive to higher frequencies. It's like increasing the bandwidth of your internet connection by 10 times. If you are vibrating in the lead-in fear of the corporate past, you are wasting this massive bandwidth on low-definition problems. But if you can shift your internal state to one of already done, the ASAP state, you are downloading high-definition solutions from your future self. Most doctors will tell you that waking up at 3 a.m. is a sign of liver stress or adrenal fatigue. And while there can be physical components to it, the quantum perspective is much more profound. You are waking up because your vibrational signature is beginning to outgrow your current 3D container. Your soul is literally pushing against the boundaries of your lead-in reality. It's like an alarm clock for your sovereignty. It is your biology saying, the door is open, the double is waiting. What instructions do you have for the next curve of the spiral? When I shifted from being insurance Vanessa to sovereign Vanessa, this was my primary tool. I stopped seeing 3 a.m. as a problem and started seeing it as my most profitable business hour. If you find yourself awake tonight at that hour, do not turn on the light. Do not check your phone. Do not engage with the lead-in world of notifications. Stay in the darkness and feel the theta frequency in your body. Feel the silence. This is the 0 point where the matrix has no power over you. In this state, you are not a worker, you are not a debtor, and you are not a house seeker. You are a crystalline antenna, perfectly positioned to receive the golden blueprints of your freedom. The insomnia you've been fighting is actually the universe's way of pulling you aside to give you the secret codes of the next level. In the world of finance, we know that the best deals are often made after hours, when the main market is closed. The same is true for your life. The real deals with the universe are made in the theta doorway. This is where you negotiate the terms of your transition, your investments, and your peace. You are not awake because something is wrong. You are awake because something is right. You are being called to the laboratory. And in the next block, I'm going to show you how to take the stress of that corporate past and use it as the fuel to propel you through this doorway and into the life of absolute liberty that you deserve. From corporate anxiety to quantum sovereignty, to understand the shift from leaden anxiety to golden sovereignty, I have to take you back to the cold, fluorescent reality of my years in the insurance and finance world. In that environment, every second of your day is quantified. You are taught that your value is directly tied to your linear output. How many policies you review, how many portfolios you balance, how many meetings you survive. But the most insidious part of that life wasn't the hours I spent at my desk, it was the hours I spent in bed, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. Back then, I called it corporate insomnia. It was a state of pure, unadulterated, leaden static. My mind was a broken record of what ifs and hows. What if I miss the target? How will I handle that liability? How can I sustain this level of pressure for another decade? I didn't realize it then, but I was living in a state of vibrational debt. Every night at 3 a.m., my body was trying to disconnect from the matrix grid of stress, but my mind was frantically trying to plug back in. I was using the most powerful Theta doorway of the night to rehearse my own limitation. I was literally pre-coding the stress of the next day while I was still in the dark. In the world of high finance, we talk about hedged bets, but I was betting against myself every single night. I was a leaden prisoner of a system that thrived on my cortisol. I was exhausted, not because I was working hard, but because I was fighting the natural golden rhythm of my own biology. The turning point came when I stopped trying to fix the anxiety and started analyzing it as a quantum signal. I realized that the reason I was waking up wasn't because of the insurance market or the financial risks. I was waking up because my sovereign self was knocking on the door of my subconscious. My insomnia was a protest against a life that was too small for my spirit. It was the checkmate of the universe. When you are in a career that suffocates your frequency, your DNA antenna becomes distorted. It's like trying to listen to a symphony through a radio that is tuned to a static-filled frequency. The 3 a.m. window was the only time the static was quiet enough for me to hear the truth. You are not an employee of the matrix. You are a strategist of the field. When I began my transition to freedom, managing my own assets and moving into a life of absolute sovereignty, the first thing I had to reprogram was my relationship with those early hours. I had to move from corporate anxiety to quantum sovereignty. I stopped treating 3 a.m. as an illness and started treating it as my most exclusive consultation hour. I realized that if I could hold a state of already done, the us-up state, during that specific Theta window, the 3D world had no choice but to rearrange itself to match my new signature. I stopped asking how I would leave the corporate world and started vibrating as someone who had already left. This is the mechanical secret that the system doesn't want you to know. The how is a linear concept, but the result is a quantum one. In my insurance days, I was obsessed with the linear steps. I thought I needed a 5-year plan, a massive savings account, and a perfect safety net before I could be free. That is leaden thinking. It's slow, it's heavy, and it's based on fear. But in the Theta doorway, I practiced folding time. I would lie in the dark and feel the golden ease of my future self, the version of me who is a sovereign strategist, who has the balance sheet to prove it, and who chooses projects based on joy, not survival. I was seeding my Fibonacci spiral with the end result. The results were exponential. Opportunities that I hadn't hunted for began to manifest. A consultancy project that paid more than my quarterly salary arrived out of nowhere. My investments began to resonate with the market in ways that defied traditional financial logic. This wasn't luck. It was the direct result of using the 3 a.m. window to recode my DNA antenna. I was no longer a match for the corporate grind, so the universe had to move me out of it. I had vibrated myself out of the insurance world before I even turned in my resignation. I was already sovereign in the quantum field, so the physical reality simply had to catch up. You see, the matrix is just a set of leaden rules that we agree to follow. It's a simulation of effort and scarcity, but the quantum field is an engine of golden abundance. To move from one to the other, you must be willing to leave the group consciousness of the 9-to-5 world, especially during the hours when the collective mind is asleep. When you are awake at 3 a.m., you are in a state of vibrational isolation. The noise of everyone else's stress, their fears, and their expectations is at its lowest. This is your chance to unplug from the collective lead and anchor your own gold. I want you to think about your current anxiety. Is it truly yours, or is it a frequency you've rented from the system? When I was in finance, I realized 90% of my stress wasn't mine. It was the market's stress. It was the frequency of a system that was built on the fear of loss. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you have the chance to return the rental. You can say, I am no longer a host for this frequency. In that Theta doorway, you can strip away the titles, the metas, and the leaden roles you play during the day. You can return to your original state as a crystalline observer. This is where your power lives. This is where your sovereignty begins. Moving into this level of freedom requires a specific kind of audacity. It requires the audacity to believe that 15 minutes of Theta reprogramming at 3 a.m. is more effective than 15 hours of grinding in the 3D world. And I am here to tell you, as someone who has lived both lives, it is. My wealth today is not built on my effort. It is built on my alignment. I am no longer a hunter of money. I am a magnet for it because I used the 3 a.m. window to tune my internal antenna to the frequency of abundance as a standard. I moved from the leaden world of insurance to the golden world of quantum strategy. If you are still stuck in that corporate loop, feeling the anxiety of the how, I want you to look at those hours between 3 a.m. and dawn as your escape hatch. Do not waste them on worry. Do not waste them on the leaden static of the matrix. Use them to ass up your new reality. Feel the freedom in your bones. Feel the sovereignty in your DNA. You are not losing sleep. You're gaining a new life. In the next block, we are going to dive into the work of Jean-Pierre Garnier-Millet to understand exactly who you are talking to during these hours and how to ensure the information you receive is the golden blueprint of your highest potential. The quantum double connection. To master the Theta doorway, we must look at the science of the quantum double, as pioneered by the physicist Jean-Pierre Garnier-Millet. In my previous life in the insurance world, everything was based on the present and the past. We looked at historical data to predict future risk. It was a slow, leaden way to live. But Garnier-Millet's discovery of the doubling of time proves that we are living in two speeds at once. There's your physical self, moving through 3D time, and there is your quantum double, who moves in a state of accelerated time. The most critical checkmate is that the primary exchange of information between you and your double happens when your brain is in the Theta frequency, the exact state you enter during those 3 a.m. awakenings. When I was navigating my own sovereign shift from the corporate grind to total freedom, I realized that my insomnia was actually a synchronicity event. Jean-Pierre explains that between every measurable second, there are imperceptible openings, temporal apertures where time folds. Your double is essentially a scout who explores millions of potential futures in these openings to bring you the best one. But here is the catch. Your double can only bring you what you order through your vibrational signature. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and stay in the leaden frequency of worry, debt, or how am I going to survive, you are effectively ordering your double to fetch more of that same struggle. You are using a high-speed quantum connection to download low-quality 3D misery. In the world of high-stakes consulting and asset management, we understand that information is the most valuable currency. The information your double brings you is what the world calls intuition or luck, but it's not luck, it's data retrieval. When I shifted my 3 a.m. routine, I stopped thinking and started downloading. I realized that my DNA antenna, structured in the proportions of the golden ratio, is the physical hardware that receives this data. By staying in the Theta state, I was able to communicate with my double without the noise of the matrix. I began to ask for the golden blueprints, the exact steps to multiply my wealth, the right projects to accept, and the frequency of already done. The connection is mechanical. Your brain at 3 a.m. is like a radio that has finally tuned out of the mainstream static and into the high-definition broadcast of the field. Jean-Pierre Garnier Mallet emphasizes that we must go to sleep and stay in the state of sleep with a clean signature. This is why waking up at 3 a.m. is such a powerful opportunity. It is a midnight calibration. If you can stay in the darkness, keep your eyes closed, and feel the ass-up state, you are essentially handshaking with your double. You are saying, I am a match for the sovereign version of this timeline. Fetch the details. This is how I moved from the leaden effort of a 9 to 5 to the golden ease of my current life. I didn't work for the results. I retrieved them. Most people fear the dark, and they fear being awake when the world is asleep. But in this laboratory, we know that the darkness is where the gold is forged. The system wants you to be afraid of 3 a.m. because that is the only time they cannot track your thoughts. It is the only time you are truly vibrationally invisible to the matrix. When you are in the Theta doorway, you're no longer a consumer or a cog in the machine. You are a crystalline observer. You are interacting with a version of yourself that has already solved every problem you are currently facing. Your double is already free. Your double is already sovereign. Your job at 3 a.m. is simply to sync your physical antenna with that version's frequency. Think of it as a quantum audit. When I was in finance, we did audits to ensure the books were balanced. At 3 a.m., you are auditing your vibrational books. If you find leaden thoughts of scarcity, you hit delete. You replace them with the golden certainty of your expansion. You tell your double, I am done with the insurance of the old world. I am moving into the assurance of the new one. This creates a vibrational vacuum that the universe must fill with the golden result. This is why my consultancies and investments began to thrive without my physical grind. I was doing the real work in the apertures of time. I want you to reconsider your insomnia. It is not a burden, it is your sovereign advantage. While everyone else is being reprogrammed by the collective dreams of the matrix, you are awake in the control room. You are sitting in the Theta doorway, talking to the most advanced version of yourself. This is where you hack your timeline. This is where you decide that the next curve of your Fibonacci spiral is going to be 10 times larger than the last. You are not losing sleep. You are gaining the future. You are moving from the leaden exhaustion of a worker to the golden clarity of a strategist. This level of system hacking is exactly why we are here. We are moving away from the slave frequency and into the sovereign frequency of the field. If you are ready to stop being a battery for the old system and start being the commander of your own timeline, you need to stay tuned to this broadcast. Subscribe to the channel now and become part of this movement of sovereign experts. When you hit that button, you are signaling to the quantum field that you are ready to step through the Theta doorway with authority. Join us and let's amplify this golden resonance together. The beauty of the quantum double is that it doesn't need to know how, it only needs to know where you want to go. When I left the insurance world, I didn't have the how mapped out. If I had waited for the how, I would still be in that office. But I gave my double the where, the frequency of absolute liberty. My double then brought me the how in the form of synchronicities, chance meetings, and sudden financial openings. This is the sovereign protocol in action. You provide the signature, and your double provides the strategy. In the final block, we will discuss the practical 3 a.m. sovereign protocol, the exact steps to take when you wake up to ensure you don't glitch back into the leaden world. I will show you how to maintain your Theta alignment and how to protect your DNA antenna from the noise of the day to come. You are the architect of your own spiral, and the information is waiting for you in the dark. It's time to stop fighting the insomnia and start commanding the portal. The 3 a.m. Sovereign Protocol. To finalize this system hack, we must discuss the practical application, the 3 a.m. Sovereign Protocol. This is how you take the leaden irritation of waking up in the middle of the night and transform it into a golden strategic advantage. When I left the world of insurance and high finance, I didn't just leave an office, I left a mental frequency. But the system is persistent. It will try to use your 3 a.m. window to pull you back into the grind. If you wake up and your first instinct is to check your phone, look at the time, or start a mental to-do list, you have just handed your Theta doorway back to the Matrix. You have traded your gold for lead. To be a sovereign strategist, you must guard this window with absolute discipline. The first step of the protocol is dark immobility. When you wake up, do not move. Do not turn on the light. Do not even check exactly what time it is. The moment you engage your physical muscles or your analytical sight, you begin to produce beta waves, which crush the theta state. Stay in the darkness and keep your eyes closed. Feel the weight of your body and the 70% liquid crystalline structure of your DNA. You are not awake in the 3D sense, you are online in the quantum sense. This is the moment to initiate the ass up command. Instead of thinking about what you need to do, you must feel the result as a present tense fact. If you are manifesting a financial transition, feel the golden ease of your bank account already reflecting your sovereignty. Do not ask how, simply be the result. In my own practice, during my shift from the corporate world to managing my own energy and assets, I used this time for vibrational anchoring. I would visualize my future projects not as distant dreams, but as current assets already under my management. Because your brain in Theta cannot distinguish between a physical event and a vivid internal experience, you are effectively rewiring your neural pathways to accept this new reality as the default. You are telling your DNA antenna to stop searching for scarcity and start broadcasting sovereignty. This is how I coded my transition out of the insurance market. I didn't wait for the money to feel free. I felt free at 3 a.m., and the money had no choice but to follow the mathematical command of my frequency. The second step is the double handshake. While you are in this deep theta state, give a clear emotional instruction to your quantum double. Jean-Pierre Garnier Mallet teaches us that the best potential is the one that brings the most peace to the greatest number of people, starting with yourself. Say to your double, fetch the coordinates of my absolute freedom. Show me the golden path of least resistance. Then let go. Do not try to figure it out. The information will arrive later in the day as a hunch, a sudden email, or a chance encounter. This is the sovereign intelligence at work. You are no longer hunting for deals, you are receiving them. You have moved from the leaden effort of a worker to the golden grace of a commander. If you cannot fall back to sleep immediately, do not worry. This is not insomnia, it is an extended download. Stay in the done state. Enjoy the silence. In the corporate world, silence is feared because it's unproductive. But in the quantum field, silence is the 0 point where all wealth is created. By staying calm and golden in the face of wakefulness, you are proving to the universe that you are a master of your own energy. You are showing that you are no longer a slave to the linear clock. This checkmate against the system is what allows the Fibonacci spiral of your life to take its next massive jump upward. Before we close this laboratory, I want to thank you for staying with us until the end, for watching, and for being here with us on this journey. It takes a specialized mind to turn insomnia into an asset and to look past the leaden stress of the world to find the golden potential within. I am deeply grateful for your presence in this circle of sovereigns. Your commitment to hacking your own frequency is what makes this transition possible for all of us. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to continue receiving these strategic protocols. Your subscription helps us bypass the linear algorithm and reach more experts who are ready to exit the matrix. Let's build this golden network together. If you are ready to start your own quantum reprogramming, I have placed the links to the books and free materials in the description below. These are the same tools I used to exit the corporate grind and build my own sovereignty. Everything you need to start your exponential expansion is waiting for you there. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, trust your DNA, trust the darkness, and remember that you are always one Theta doorway away from your new reality.